Mind of a Marketer live sessions. Today, we'll be taking questions from our Blueprint Training Slack community. If you want to join the community, $199, you get access to an entire suite worth of agency training, plus this amazing Slack community where I go in and answer all these questions live. I decided to live stream this today, just give you a feel for what this community is and the value of it, all that fun stuff. So let's go ahead and jump over here to Slack and let's take a look at some of the questions that came in. First question here is from Michael. He says, local SEO question. If competitors have hundreds of reviews and the prospect is just starting out, is it possible to think ranking locally in that situation? Is it possible to rank locally in that situation quickly? Well, I need to match the number of reviews you could have. So essentially, Michael, the best way to answer this is that reviews are not a one-to-one. Like if they have 100 reviews, you have zero. It doesn't, the magic number isn't 100 reviews and then you're going to outrank them. But it does give you a really good measuring stick because reviews are going to be really the top ranking factor when it comes to local search when everything else is equal, when the profiles are optimized, when you've got the appropriate website content, that type of stuff. Reviews are kind of like the equivalent of what links used to be back in the day in SEO. So reviews are very, very important. Now, not all reviews are created equal. We have a lot of data. We've studied this a lot where it shows that review velocity is very important. It shows that review quality is very important. So for example, we work with personal injury attorneys and we instruct our clients, we give them an SOP on how to get reviews. There's 5 different review strategies in there. And within that, we tell them to try and instruct the person leaving the review to talk about their service, to talk about the location, to talk about, to essentially kind of make it a little bit keyword rich because that's going to be a much more relevant review. So reviews are the hardest part also as an agency because there's nothing that you can do as a done for you service that's going to help with it. Now, you might be saying, well, what about a platform like Birdeye? We can automate reviews every time, a campaign is closed or a customer, we can send automated emails. It doesn't work. I mean, it works, but a very small amount. That works if you're Amazon or e-commerce. If you're doing 100,000 purchases a year, and then you're sending automated emails saying, hey, please leave us a review, you're going to get like 3 to 5%, which, out of 100,000 is pretty good. But if you're a local service business, if you're a local business, that 3 to 5%, the amount of clients or customers that you need to have, it doesn't really work. The best way to get reviews is good old fashioned elbow grease. It's to literally, we have a SOP that teaches our clients a phone script to call past prospects, to call recently closed deals, to call people that they've had a positive impact, to call colleagues and ask them to leave a review. It's the best thing to do. So it's hard as an agency because that's not like a done for you service that you can do. We roll it in, we tell them we're going to help them with coaching, consulting around it, but it's really a business process change if you really want to impact reviews. So it's important that you know and understand that during the sales process, that when you're talking to a prospect, they understand based on where they are, very similar if 5-10 years ago you're pitching somebody for traditional SEO and they had no links, like they needed a lot of links to get there. So reviews are incredibly important when it comes to local SEO. Again, it's not one for one. You don't need to hit some sort of magic number to rank, but it does give you a pretty good measuring stick for how far you want to get to. Benjamin said, hey Ryan, I have a question that is exactly what I'm facing right now. At the beginning of your agency, you were alone or with 2 to 3 people max and without SOPs, like everyone that starts a business. But when you started to get some clients, how did you find the time to work on SOP creating while you were overwhelmed by client delivery? Great question, Benjamin. To me, SOPs, it's not the sexiest of work. The challenge with SOPs is not just putting them together, but also the fact that it takes a tremendous amount of deep work to get them done. Now, that means on top of everything that you have, including your personal life, I have a young family that takes up more and more of my time, not in a bad way, but they get my time and attention and priority. I don't have as much time to do that deep work. And in my deep work previously, when I was building my business, I was able to go very deep on building SOPs, on writing blog content, on all sorts of different things that I just don't really have the time and bandwidth for anymore. So lesson 1 is as you grow and scale, you bring in other people, you train them on how to do it. Part 2 of that, though, is ChatGPT is really, really good at writing SOPs, really, really good. But you need to feed it what you want. So ChatGPT can speed up that process really quite a bit when it comes to building SOPs. But I started building SOPs pretty early because I realized that my background was actually in corporate consultant. I used to work at Deloitte and Accenture, and SOPs were a big part of what I was doing there. My job was basically a marketing process re-engineering consulting, where I would go in, I would help them to document processes, like flowcharts, written processes, all that stuff. And then we would review it and we'd find the gaps, and then we'd implement new technology and stuff like that. So I was trained very early on the importance of SOPs in big business, not just small business. A lot of businesses are really just a series of processes that are managed by humans and automation when you really break it down. So, I think the sooner that you begin making that a culture of your business, meaning if you're doing the same thing over and over again, you should have it documented, because if you have it documented, it's going to be much easier to hire. If you have it documented, it's going to be much easier to build something like an AI agent to maybe automate it. If you have it documented, it's going to make training people a lot easier. So SOPs are an incredibly important part of the business. And of course, we give them to you inside of the Blueprint training, but you need to edit them to make them your own. So at the beginning, Benjamin, everything's a grind. When you're just getting started, everything is a lot of work, because when you're just getting started, there's really two force multipliers in business. There's time and there's money. When you're just getting started, you don't have the money, you have the time. That's your superpower. You can dedicate more time and effort to do it. Now, as you grow and scale, you need to learn how to stop trading time for money and start trading money for more money, right? So you start investing more and bring more people in. So it's a grind, Benjamin, but you're going to get there. Don't worry. Martin asked, when working with multiple companies in the same niche, do you take on clients where content marketing would create direct competition, or do you adjust your strategy, for example, by focusing only on bottom funnel content to avoid overlap? So this is something that we actually face a lot, Martin. It's a good question, where we take on or are pitching clients, that are both in the Miami or South Florida area, and they both do personal injury law. So there's a number of ways that we tackle this. One, again, from a sales point of view, is that if they ask for area exclusivity, we'll give it to them, but we just make them pay a pretty large premium for that. So we charge more if they want, I only want to be the DUI attorney in Miami on our client roster. That's fine. We put it in the contract, but we charge them almost 2x for that right and that privilege. Now, what I'll tell them otherwise, I'll say, look, if you don't want to pay that, then what we can do is we can give you practice area or sub practice area exclusivity, right? So if we have two personal injury attorneys in Miami, personal injury is a pretty broad term. That personal injury is one part of law. There's divorce law, there's family law, there's business law, there's bankruptcy law, there's tax law, there's all sorts of different areas of law. Each one of those areas of law has a sub practice area list that we can focus on. So personal injury, for example, is probably one of our biggest practice areas that we have on our client roster. We'll say, okay, we can give you car accident, we can give you trucking accident, we can give you slip and fall exclusivity, where that's going to be the primary focus of our campaign, organic SEO, content, everything within that. But we might be working with other personal injury attorneys, but we give you that practice area and we don't charge for that. We don't charge extra for that. So, also at a national level, Martin, this is something I get asked a lot, because inside of the Blueprint training, I teach everyone templates, templates, process, automation, AI, everything, because when you use templates, it allows you to essentially use AI or bring in people to speed up and automate a lot of the process. So I teach and coach that quite a bit. And something I get asked a lot is that, we have a content roadmap that, when I'm pitching attorneys, I already know what content I'm going to build for them for the next year, because it's already done. It was already written. We already have literally a workbook that has all the content topics already identified. So we don't do keyword research, almost never, because we've already done it before. Now you might say, well, okay, but what about if it's a national campaign, or even if it's a local campaign? Are you creating the same content twice? How do you know how to prioritize that? And that's where, again, we adjust our strategy. Like you said, we tend to focus significantly on bottom funnel traffic. If we were to look up, let's see here, content marketing funnel, maybe we can look this up, right? So a traditional funnel, right, it goes top, we'll look at SEMrush here, top down, right? Top funnel, mid funnel, bottom funnel. Top funnel is going to be where a lot of agencies actually start, because it's far less competitive. That's going to be like blog content, resource content. We flip this upside down and we focus almost exclusively on bottom funnel content. The reason being is because top funnel content, in our experience, right, if we take something like what to do after car accident, we take something like that, after the ads, one, what we see here is that AI is already kind of cannibalizing it. Two, this little knowledge graph here, So like not nearly as many people are actually pathing to this. And we see this in our data. We'll see like rankings, but we don't see the traffic and conversions coming through. So we just kind of got to the point where we're like, why are we spending so much time and money and resource on building all this top funnel content that doesn't drive any conversion? So we focus almost exclusively on bottom funnel content. Like we still do blog content, yes, but like the scope of it is much less. So to answer your question, Martin, like we're just not creating nearly as much top funnel content where there's as much overlap. Is there overlap sometimes? Absolutely. But because we work with attorneys who are barred in a certain state, right? Like we could do what to do after a car accident in Georgia, what to do after a car accident in Florida, right? Like you can see already these things popping up in Texas, right? So there's ways that we can maneuver it, manipulate it so it's not an overlap with a previous client. So like I don't know that we've ever done the exact same piece of content twice that's competing in the SERP for it. So one, again, we flip this funnel upside down and we focus on the bottom funnel practice area pages first. And then when we get to top funnel content, we're just very mindful of what we're doing and very strategic of it so there's not a huge overlap. Let's see. Let's get some more questions here. Mark asked, I'm working on a proposal for an irrigation company that has 5 main services. 2 of their services rank in maps, irrigation and sprinkler services, but 3 are nowhere to be found. They do have location pages set up like this, company name / location / city name. Okay, 6 counties with 73 pages. But each of those location pages, on-page optimization was for irrigation and sprinkler services, 2 of 5 for main services, thus not very good rankings for those 2 lines and nothing for the other core services. Question is, would you optimize each of the 73 cities for all 5 services on page or build out 5 pages for each optimized terms on their own? I'm thinking the answer is the second option. I just want to be able to check. This would be a large project and the cost is very significant. So yeah, Brian, this is a very good point. I need to find my abacus too. I don't, Mark, this is a very confusing question, but I'm just going to answer it the best way that I can. One, I would say it's hard for me to answer this without seeing the content and seeing the pages for context for myself. But just generally speaking, right? Let me just pull open our local SEO SOP. Right, so this is the SOP that all of you have access to inside of the Blueprint training. I will just walk you through what the general structure looks like for pages, right? Okay, here it is right here. Okay, so again, we work with lawyers, right? Very actually similar structure to how a irrigation sprinkler services company would be set up. What do I mean by that is that you have the site, right? So let's say you said that they have, okay, first and foremost, I usually only like to build out this structure when they have verified Google business profiles for each location, right? So like, first of all, I don't think you need the county in here. That's a little bit redundant. Maybe if you're, I don't know, in Florida, we don't really go by county, right? You'd have to verify one, that people are actually searching by county for this folder structure to make sense. That would be one. 2 would be, I only like to build out location pages if they have a verified Google business profile in that location. It's a very common SEO thing, especially in home services, local businesses, law firms, to build out a ton of these different pages based on location, right? So like, for example, we audit prospects' websites all the time, and their freaking SEO agency was like, yeah, you're barred to work in Florida. You should have a city page for every single city in Florida, and there's hundreds of them, right? So we audit their website and they have hundreds of pages and it's like spun content. It's just very low quality, right? So, especially when we're talking about sprinkler and irrigation, they have to be in that general region in order to service that client anyways. Like you wouldn't want to have, so I'm assuming that they're in 6 counties with 73 pages. I'm assuming that they can service all of those, right? Now, assuming that they are, so let's say that they have, and this is crazy. Like I know that they don't have, like, it's, to me, the city, it would be the verified Google business profile. So I know that they probably don't have 73 verified Google business profiles. So what you should do is you should whittle this down. You can leave these if you want, if they're driving traffic, whatever, but what you also want to build them as a proper website architecture. So, right. So like I said, let's say it is a sprinkler irrigation company with 6 verified locations in the state of Florida. So what you'd want to do, ideally, this is how we do it, is you set up the site.com/city that they're in, right? And then this city is targeted as the main keyword. So the main keyword would be like, and you do this times 6, right? So Miami, Boca, West Palm, etc. that location page is going to target the main umbrella keyword for the business. So whatever, if it's irrigation and sprinkler services, that's what that is. Now within that, what you'd want to do is you want to build out these sub-service pages, right, under the city. So sprinkler repair, well digging, whatever those look like for sprinkler companies, right? For personal injury, there's accident, there's slip and fall, there's Uber, there's trucking. We build out all these pages underneath that city. Now, again, when they have, we then multiply this for every market that they're in. So Boca, Miami, West Palm, all the cities that they're in would get all of those same practice area service pages just rewritten for that location. So that's how I would answer this, Mark. I apologize. This is a very, very difficult question for me to really dig into here. Let's get into one more. Wendy asked, I need your advice. A client has 2 Google Business Profile listings, but only has access to Profile A. Profile A is in his area, ranking 1 to 3 most of the time. Profile B is in the neighboring town, ranking below Profile A. Profile B has the same business name, website, and phone number, but is categorized as a construction company instead of concrete company. This profile has the client's actual address where Profile A does not. The client originally wanted to update Profile B to match A, but I warned him that this could lead to suspension as Google doesn't allow duplicate listings, so I suggest maybe get rid of Profile B. We reached out to the previous company, see if they could remove it, but they say that it could risk Profile A. My question, would removing this extra profile put Profile A at risk, or how should we go about it? I would just leave it, Wendy. I don't think it's hurting anything. If anything, as long as what you have here is basically 2 verified Google Business Profiles. I wouldn't worry about them cannibalizing anything as long as the information in Profile B is leading, Profile P and Profile A are leading to where you want them to get to, phone number, website. I would leave it. You're basically just going to potentially collect more impressions inside of Google. So my suggestion would be to leave Profile B as is. It's not going to hurt you by any means. So that's all I got for today. If you watching this want access to ask questions inside of Slack, just head over to the blueprint.training. Again, I answer these Slack questions every single day. Sometimes I do video, sometimes I just respond inside of Slack. Plus, you get access to all of our templates, trainings, everything inside of the Blueprint training. So as always, I appreciate your time and attention. Have a great day. God bless you.